Ayan. Again, we're not going to look for a solution with a biomedical model. We want to treat the problem holistically, systems approach. What I want to happen after this is that we get to practice the science and art of cooking, right, and nutrition. And even if anxiety may seem to happen in the brain, know that there are underlying root causes and that we will be treating them with food. Again, with chemistry, right? You are literally what you eat. What you eat becomes chemicals that become cells, right? Now, if you're getting in the right source of food, you are becoming I'm saying that if you're getting in the right types of nutrition and the cells, na-replace mo yung mga masasama and then you could fill up that gap with something better. Number one, we're gonna take this on a circulatory system approach in anxiety. You have to increase your potassium, right? Potassium di lang galing sa saging. Potassium is an electrolyte. If you're familiar with electrolyte, that is needed with energy. It is needed to maintain fluid balance. Because with potassium, it decreases muscle contraction and transmitting signals. You would notice na pag may nagkaroon ng cramp, ano yung sinasabi nila, kulang ka sa potassium. Because when muscle tenses, right, nangyayari, tense yan, you need potassium to tell that muscle, to tell the brain, the motor neurons to relax. But if you don't have potassium and you have a lot of sodium, mag-tense yan parate. Right? Now, imagine the same situation of muscle contracting pero hindi sa katawan mo, pero sa puso mo. Your heart tenses up. Without potassium, it doesn't reduce. It doesn't go back to equilibrium. Right? It is used to maintain a steady heartbeat. That's why people with hypokalemia, yung mabababa sa potassium, they have this feeling na mabigat sa puso nila. The best sources of potassium, of course, sweet potatoes, right? Dark leafy greens, mga gulay na such as spinach, mushrooms, and bananas. Also, what you need to do is to reduce your sodium, right? Because sodium makes it difficult for potassium to do its work. Chemically, it counteracts. Magkasalungat yung dalawang yan. Sodium is not bad. I mean, salt is not bad. What I find dangerous is that some sodium are mixed with other ingredients that you can't even pronounce. Sobrang chemically, ang dami niyang suffix and prefix na hindi mo na ma-pronounce. This is usually common with pre-packed foods, right? Na may combination of trans fat. This will increase the chances of putting debris in your blood vessels, right? High sodium could result in high blood pressure. I'm pretty sure na yung mga kung meron man sa inyo na diagnosed na with high blood pressure, our recommendation of the doctor is to reduce your sodium because sodium triggers the kidneys to increase the blood volume. Okay, so central nervous system and anxiety, you have to increase your omega-3s. Omega-3s are essential fatty acids, meaning you don't make this inside your body, you outsource them somewhere else, right? And it just so happened that the brain is composed of these oil. So you really need to have that, let's call this as a building block to build your brain properly. It's a polyunsaturated fat that is used to make hormones as well. If you're familiar with hormones, they play a role in emotional regulation, right? Serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, all those things. All I'm saying is that with omega-3, maganda yung creation of hormones nito. You're stable. Omega-3s also are anti-inflammatory to the brain. In the event of anxiety, imagine your brain, right? It's literally enclosed in it's literally inflamed, as in literal na mainit siya. That is the feeling of anxiety because there is too much oxygen that is going on right now. Omega-3 allows you to reduce that inflammation in the brain. Best sources of omega-3 are fatty fishes such as mackerel, salmons, and sardines. Now, you also have to increase your B vitamins such as B12, right? B12 removes the free radicals in the brain because your brain uses oxygen. And again, chemically, when you use oxygen, you have byproducts, okay? And also, if you have too much oxygen, there's this thing called oxidation that makes metals into rust. That happens in your brain. Now, with B12, you're trying to remove the excess. You're trying to reduce all these oxidants, hence the term antioxidant. You need B5 from your B vitamins, it's used to make melatonin, B6 to make serotonin. The best sources are seafoods, milk, organ meats, eggs, and avocados. Don't worry, kung madaming information, I will do my best to provide a handout, ganito rin naman, para magamit natin information. Uli, lalo na sa inyong weight loss journey. Now, with your respiratory system, you have to increase your vitamin D, as vitamin D shows that it has the ability to reduce chest tightness and wheezing. Best sources are oily fishes, eggs, milk, and natural sunlight. Also, let me share more recently lang. I think this was last week lang in the British Journal of Medical British Journal of Medical Notes. They said that people who consume vitamin D are 90% less likely to contract the COVID symptoms. Now, the mechanism is still unknown, pero with vitamin D, I'm guessing that since it supports cardiovascular health, mas nagiging resistant yung mga tao from COVID-19. It's not a medicine, but it does, it does reduce the possibility of you contracting COVID-19. You want to decrease these foods such as acidic because it affects the sphincter. Sphincter is yung division sa lungs mo at sa yung stomach, right? With acidic foods, it opens up. You have acid reflux. It literally makes it harder to breathe. You also want to avoid carbonated beverages because it increases bloating, and with bloating, you're increasing pressure to the lungs. Now, here's what's happening if you have pressure in the lungs. You can't breathe properly. If you cannot breathe properly, right, mahirap dumalo yung oxygen sa iyong utak. And with that, it's like you're literally getting choked because your systems are bloating. Okay? So you need to decrease these foods, carbonated and acidic. You also need to increase your vitamin D para yung tendency to be bloated, right, and allows you to breathe properly will happen. Okay, digestive system and anxiety, there is a link established in more recent studies as we begin to understand the gut-brain axis. Probiotics, sikat na sikat ng probiotics, are now considered to be a sustainable approach to deal with mood disorders. This happens due to its anti-inflammatory properties. That gut microbiome, yung mga bacteria na nakatira sa iyong stomach, ito nga yung magandang study dun eh. It was recently found out that your body is composed of 85% bacteria in your gut. Mas marami ang gut bacteria than your cells. I know it's really difficult to believe, but that same gut microbiome, right, it helps you to survive. Siyempre, they need you to survive for them to be able to survive. Now, in the instances of you eating a lot of inflammatory foods, what the gut microbiome does is that it digests these strains properly, right? It digests fiber, and if it eliminates the effects of these harmful ingredients. One particular strain is the bifidobacterium. Yan. Researchers are now calling this as psychobiotics. So if you reduce your refined carbohydrates that causes inflammation and you replace them with more fiber, which is a prebiotic, and you also have a probiotic, you are fostering a very, very good microbiome, a very good environment in your stomach that would help you reduce some of your moods, some of your mood instability. Basta more research are coming up with that, and it's very interesting that before we like to talk about antibiotics, and now binabawi na ng medical field ang antibiotics, mas gusto nila na magkaroon na ng probiotics. But ganun naman talaga habang nag-evolve, nagde-develop ang science. We tend to debunk the old thoughts at meron na tayong bago. It's funny that probiotics is now taking center stage. Now, musculoskeletal system and anxiety. Simple sugar could cause high blood pressure. That is no secret. That feeling of sugar rush. At that point, your body and mind is inflamed. Inflammation. I keep saying this word inflammation, right? Since sugar is a combustant, in that stress situation, your brain and your body, it's as if they're combusting, right? When you're on a state of sugar rush. Sometimes our thoughts will snowball. Alam mo yun, snowball. Nag-iisip ka ng isang bagay from point A, hindi mo alam na nasa point C ka na pala because of that inflammation. Cortisol increases, insulin sensitivity decreases, causing you to sugar crash over time. You cannot sustain that sugar high. Eventually, you crash. When you crash, you get moody, you get irritable, you get emotional. worse, since naapektuhan ng insulin, you will get fat in the midsection and your self-esteem may decrease. Also, what you want to do is to increase your magnesium, right? It's a natural relaxant of the body, just like potassium. If calcium and sodium triggers, potassium and magnesium reduces these instances. So you don't want to be triggered, you want to be relaxed.